Chapter 8. Everyone showing off their abilities. Wang Chuyi went extremely quickly. In a little time, they left the city. Some li further, they arrived at the foot of a hill. Eager to test the abilities of Gojing, the Taoist did not slow and ran more and more quickly. At the time Gojing learned from Mayu to control his breath, he had climbed and descended a high mountain many times. Today, even after a heated battle, this race did not frighten him. Going against the wind, as snow fell heavily, Wang Chuyi sprang up the small hill, its sides covered with slipping snow. In the end, the slope became increasingly steep. But the progress of Gojing made him wonder he advanced without being blown, as though his pulse did not accelerate, as if the ground were flat. The Taoist, extremely surprised, released Gojing's arm. Your Gongfu foundation is rather well established. How is it made that you are not able to beat him? Gojing had no answer and could only remain silent. Who is your Shifu? Wang continued. Gojing knew of the Taoist, since, at the top of the cliff, he had received the order to play the part of Yin Jiping, to mislead Mai Chaofeng. He remembered that Wang Chuyi was one of the martial brothers of Mayu. Therefore he did not hesitate to tell the truth, telling quickly how he had been taught by the Zhongnan Odd Seven, and also by Mayu. My senior brother gave you lessons. Wang exclaimed, delighted. He is formidable. Then I don't see why I should worry. Gojing's eyes widened, looking at him without understanding. This so-called young prince, Wang Yankang, explained Wang, is the disciple of my brother-in-arms Qu Chuji. Did you know? Ah, Gojing was astonished. I was unaware of it. Indeed, Mayu had taught to him some bases for the control of internal energy, as well as the Qigong technique called Flight of the Golden Eagle, in order to enable him to climb the cliff. But he had never given him the least indication in battle technique or in weapons skills. This is why Gojing did not know any Quanzhen Gongfu at all. By hearing the remarks of Wang Chuyi, he remembered his battle, that night, with the young Taoist Yin Jiping, whose movements seemed to come from of the same style as those of this Wang Yankang. He believed that he had done wrong and bowed his head. I did not know, he said humbly, that this young prince was a disciple of Master Q. I behaved out of order to him, please do not hold it against him. Wang Chuyi burst out laughing. Your righteousness and gentlemanly spirit suit me right to the heart. How could I reproach you? The rules in our sect are extremely strict. If a disciple is at fault, he will be punished accordingly and justice will be done. This young boy was impudent and arrogant. I will ask Brother Q to punish him severely. If he agrees to marry this young lady, pleaded Gojing, please agree to forgive him. Wang Chuyi shook the head without answering. He could see that Gojing had a good heart and that he forgave readily, and looked upon him with still more sympathy. Brother Q always hated evildoers, and especially Jin, he thought. How did it come about that he agreed to take on the Jin prince for his disciple? The more so as the knowledge which it seems to have of our Gongfu appears rather thorough. That means, obviously, that Brother Q devoted to him much time and energy. However, in his Gongfu, one senses the pernicious influences of unorthodox and perverse schools. I'm totally mystified. Brother Q told me he was going to Yanjing, he said to Gojing. He should arrive in the next few days. We will ask him for explanations when we see him. I intended to say that he took a disciple of the name of Yang, who must go to contest himself against Yuan Jiaxing. I do not know how powerful this chap is, but don't be worried. I will be there, and I'm sure you will come out on top. Gojing had obeyed the order given by his 6 masters, to go, at the 15th day of the 8th lunar month, to the prefecture of Jiaxing. But they had not explained to him for what reason. Master Taoist, he asked then, why must I test myself against him? If your teachers did not think it well to explain it to you, answered Wang, it would be wrong for me to do it in their place. He had learned, from Qu Chuji, the origin and outcome of this business, and he felt, for the generous actions of the Odd Six, an immense admiration. He had had the same thoughts as Mayu, and hoped for the victory of the six. However, as a junior, he could not require Q to step down. Today, encouraged by the personality of Gojing, he wondered how he could help them secretly, without damaging to the reputation of his martial brother. He thus decided to also go to Jiaxing, and to think on the spot some way to support him. "Let us return and visit Mu Yi," proposed the Taoist. "His daughter seems to be rather stubborn. I fear this will cause him problems." Gojing started. Both went to the Prosperity Inn, in the western part of the city. When they arrived at the door of the inn, 10 servants richly clad in brocade were there. They came to them well greeting. "Our master humbly requests of the Master Taoist and Lord Go, whether they would agree to a banquet held at his modest residence." The red invitation card respectfully carried the inscription, "Your disciple Wan Yankang invites." "Well," Wang Chuyi said, shaking his head. "We will come presently." "These cakes and fruits," declared the chief of the servants, "are a modest present from the young prince. If the Master Taoist and Lord Go indicate to me where to place them, I will bring them over there." The servants presented 12 large boxes, filled with various fresh fruits and fine cakes, very appetizing. "Brother Huang Rong likes finely made pastries," thought Gojing. "I will keep some for him." Because of his aversion to Wan Yankang, Wang Chuyi intended to return the present. But, seeing that Gojing seemed to appreciate them, he ordered to leave them at the counter. "Young people are covetous," he said with a smile. "It's normal." They went then into the room of Mu Yi. He was stretched out on the bed, his face pale, his daughter in tears sitting by his bedside. By seeing Wang and Go enter, they pushed a cry of surprise. The girl rose to her feet. The man tried to get up. Wang Chuyi examined the wounds of Mu Yi. On each hand, the 5 wounds dug by the fingers of Wan Yankang were open to the bone, as if they had been inflicted by a weapon. The hands were extremely swollen. They had been coated with alleviating balsam, but, because of fear of infection, no bandage had been applied. Wang Chuyi could not understand the nature of the wound. Who taught Wan Yankang such a cruel and brutal technique? Looking at the seriousness of those wounds, it isn't superficial. It would take a long time for someone to reach this power. How could Brother Q not realize this at all? Or if he had some idea about it, why didn't he do anything to stop him? He turned to the girl. "Young lady, you are?" "I am called Mu Nyanchi to remember the mother," she answered, casting a grateful glance towards Gojing before bowing her head. Gojing saw that the pole of the banner was at the foot of the bed, but the banner itself, with the inscription "Tournament to Find a Husband," had been torn into shreds. "Don't you wish to see a husband?" he wondered in surprise. "Your father's injury is quite serious," continued Wang. "It should be looked after properly." Seeing the destitution in which they lived, he understood that the father and the girl had few means, and would have probably found it very hard to find the money for the medicines. He left 2 ingots money from his pocket and placed them on the table. "I will return to see you tomorrow," he promised. Without awaiting the thanks of Mu Yi and his daughter, he took Gojing by the arm and left. At the door of the inn, the 4 brocade-clothed servants advanced towards them and bowed. "Our young master awaits your honorable visit. Please follow us." Wang Chuyi agreed. "Master," Gojing said, "wait to me one moment." He turned and ran to the counter of the inn, opened the boxes of delicacies offered by Wan Yankang, chooses 4 cakes, carefully wrapped them in a handkerchief and put them in a pocket. Then he followed Wang Chuyi to the residence. On the 2 sides of the large door painted in bright red, flags were spread on high poles. 2 lions of jade, majestic and fierce, stood guard. A flight of white jade steps carried out to the large hall. The effect was impressive. Above the large door, there was an inscription in gold letters. "Residence of Prince Zhao." Gojing knew that Prince Zhao was the title of the 6th prince of the Jin Empire, Wan Hongli. "So," he said to himself, full of fear, This young prince is the son of Wang and Hongli? He knows me. It'll be terrible if I come upon him here." As he hesitated, there came the sound of drums and trumpets. The young prince, wearing a gold crown and a red tunic, a gold belt tied around his waist, descended the steps to meet them. However, he had a black eye, and a swollen face, marks of the keen combat of a few hours ago. Go Jing was not in a better state, with a swollen eye, bruises on his lips, his face and the cheek ravaged. Both felt amused, and could not prevent themselves from smiling. Seeing the luxurious garb of Wan Yankang, Wang's eyebrows came together and he followed him to the large room without saying a word. Wan Yankang requested him to sit down in the place of honor. "It's a distinguished honor that Master Taoist and Brother Go have agreed to come here." As he did not kowtow to him and did not seem to recognize his membership of the Quanzhen sect, Wang felt anger rise within him. "For how many years were you taught the martial arts by your Shifu?" he asked. "I know nothing in martial arts," answered Wan Yankang while laughing. "My Shifu gave me lessons for several years, but what he taught me would make you laugh, because that it's no more than a three-legged cat's skills." "The skills of the Quanzhen sect are nothing exceptional," Wang said, containing his anger, "but it is nonetheless better than a three-legged cat skill." "Your Shifu, did you know he will arrive in a few days?" "My Shifu is here," retorted Wan Yankang, always smiling. "Do you wish to see him, master?" "Where is he?" exclaimed Wang Chuyi, amazed. Without waiting for him to answer, Wan Yankang struck in its hands, and ordered, "Serve the banquet." Then he took his two guests towards the banquet hall. They crossed several corridors, several decorated pavilions. Go Jing, who had never seen such a pompous residence, was overwhelmed. But he was especially worried about the coming confrontation with Wang and Hongli, because he did not know what he should do. "The Great Khan wants me to assassinate the prince," he thought, "but it turns out his son is a disciple of Taoist Elder Q. Should I kill him or not?" He did not manage to decide, so uneasiness plagued him. In the banquet hall, 6 or 7 people have already awaited them. One of them had 3 lumps on his face. It was Hu Tonghai, the 3-headed dragon. Hands on his hips, he looked at them with anger. Go Jing made a movement of retreat, then he was reassured, thinking that the presence of the Taoist elder at his side would dissuade Hu from undertaking anything. However, not being able to suppress a certain feeling of apprehension, he averted his head, avoiding the glance of his adversary. Then, recalling the foolish behavior of Hu during the chase of Huang Rong, he laughed up his sleeve. "Taoist elder," said Wan Yankang, a charming expression on his face, "here are several people who admire you and have wished, since a long time, to get acquainted. You have already met Chief Peng. Here is the Honorable Liang Ziwang, also called the Ginseng Immortal, who is from the Eternal White Peak." Liang Ziwang, an old man with a florid face and immaculate hair, greeted by joining his hands. "What an honor to meet the perfect Wang, the immortal with iron foot. I will now be able to claim that my voyage beyond the pass has not been in vain. Here is Supreme Virtuling Ji, also known as Distinguished Big Hand, from the esoteric school of Tibet. I myself came from the northeast, he from the southwest. It had required a voyage of tens of thousands li. One could say that ours is a predestined encounter." Obviously, Liang Ziwang was a very glib talker. Wang Chui greeted Supreme Virtuling Ji. The Lama answered by joining his hands. Suddenly, a raucous voice was heard. "Thus, it is because they feel supported by the sect of total perfection Quanzhen that the 7 freaks of Jiangnan dare to be conceited." Wang Chuyi turned his head and saw a completely bald man with gleaming skull and bulging red eyes. That man reminded him of someone. "Are you possibly the Venerable Shah, the Dragon King of the demonic group?" "Precisely," the man retorted with an angry voice. "Thus, you still remember my name." "We have never met," Wang thought. "In what affair could I have offended him?" "I've heard of your great reputation for a long time," he answered in a conciliatory tone, "and I much admire you." This dragon king of the demonic group was Shatongjian, and he was much abler than his brother-in-arms Hutonghai. However, he possessed a quick temper, was constantly enraged when teaching, that's why he had only been able to transmit a negligible part of his ability to his 4 disciples. That was the reason why the 4 demons of the Yellow River, as they fought against Gojing in Mongolia, was not able to win and had to lose face in front of Wang in Hongli. Since then, Prince Zhao did not grant any more credit to the 4 men. When he heard about that, Shatongjian got in a terrible fury. He punished his unworthy disciples viciously. The 4 demons nearly turned into 4 ghosts. Then he ordered his brother-in-arms to capture Gojing, but Hutonghai only turned out to be a teasing object for Huangrong, and had to undergo an even larger humiliation. More and more annoyed, Shatongjian, without being concerned anymore about courtesy in front of others, sprang to Gojing, his hands forming claws. Gojing retreated 2 steps. Wang Chuyi, with a protecting movement, put himself in front of Gojing. "You really want to protect this little rascal?" Shao exclaimed angrily. And he struck a palm in the direction of Wang. Wang, considering the brutality of the attack, was forced to defend himself. Their 2 palms clashed, and as they were both going to channel their internal energy, suddenly a man appeared, who with each of his hands, pressed their respective wrists and in that way separated them. Wang and Sha felt a shock and withdrew their hands immediately. Both being eminent personalities of the Jianghu realm, both had anticipated very well the real ability of their adversaries and had already activated their own internal energy. That somebody was able to separate them easily with such a move were unbelievable to them. The man, dressed in white, carried a light fur coat and a broad belt. Aged about 35 or 36 years, he moved elegantly, had a distinguished appearance, and an undeniable martial air. He seemed to be a scion of a noble family. "Here is," said Wang Yankang laughing, "the junior chief of the White Ecamel Mountain from the Kunlun mountain range in the Western Territories. His name is Zhu Yang." Honorable Liu Yang had never been in the Central Plains before. It is thus for the first time you all meet him. The sudden appearance of this man surprised not only Wang Chuyi and Gojing, but Peng Lianhu and Liang Ziwang as well, who also didn't know him. After seeing a demonstration of his ability, everyone was secretly very admiring, but nobody had ever heard about the White Ecamel Mountain in the Western Territories. "Brothers, I should have arrived in the capital since several days," said Aoyanke while greeting. "But I had a small hitch in the way, which caused a certain delay. That is why I have just arrived. Please excuse me." After learning that he was the junior chief of the White Ecamel Mountain, Gojing understood that he was related to those young women wearing white clothes who had tried to burgle his horse on the road. He felt his heart tightening. Have my 6 Shifus already clashed with him? He wondered. Have they been injured? Wang Chuyi noticed that all adversaries were of frightening ability. Particularly he himself had experienced the pressure of Aoyankan's hand, who had an internal energy by no means inferior to his own, though it contained a strange viciousness. If dialogue turned out to be impossible, and it turned into a fighting, he himself was not even sure of being able to beat Aoyanke then. Should the enemy attack in mass, how could they defend themselves? "And your Shifu?" he asked Wang Yankang. "Why don't you ask him to come?" "I will," the young man agreed, turning to his servants. "Request Shifu to come and meet the visitors." Wang Chuyi was feeling more reassured. "If Brother Q is here," he mused, "though the enemy is dominant in number, we will be able at least to remain unscathed." Sometime later, one heard noises of boots. Through the large door, a big old officer of 40 years dressed in brocade entered, with a thick beard on his chin and a martial air. Wang Yankang advanced. "Shifu," he said respectfully. "This Taoist elder wishes to see you, and have already asked about you on several occasions." Wang felt upsurging anger. "Ah, the wicked one," he thought, "you dare to make fun of me? The way this officer moves, He can't have a remarkable skill. He is certainly not the one who taught this rascal his strange techniques. Taoist, said the officer, what do you want from me? Normally I hate seeing monks or Taoists. The anger of Wang was so strong that he burst out laughing. I would like, he said, to request alms from your excellency, alms of 1,000 silver taels. The officer was called Tang Zudi, captain of Prince Jia's personal guard. When Wan Yan Kang was small, Tang Zudi had given him some martial arts lessons, that's why everybody in the household called him Shifu. On hearing the outrageous request from Wang Chuyi, he was startled. Rubbish, he retorted. 1,000 taels in silver, Wan Yan Kang said, is nothing, nothing at all. Let someone quickly prepare 1,000 taels, and present it to the venerable Taoist. Tang Zudi remained baffled. He examined Wang Chuyi from top to toe with his mouth agape, then upwards, without managing to understand why one should show such benevolence. Please all take a seat, Wan Yan Kang invited. Taoist Elder Wang, it's the first time you've come to us, the place of honor is reserved for you. Wang Chuyi refused modestly but ended up settling at the place of honor. 3 wine rounds were served. You are all eminent personalities of the Jianghu realm, Wang declared then. You all shall judge how well regulate the affair of Mr. Mu and his daughter. All glances were fixed on Wan Yan Kang, waiting to see his reaction. Wan Yan Kang poured wine and raised the wine cup. Respectfully presenting the cup before Wang, he said, Senior, do me the honor and accept this cup first. As for the affair in question, it will be dealt with according to Senior's instructions. Your junior dares not to disobey. Wang was amazed to see him accepting so easily. He took the cup and drank the wine in one go. Very well, he said. Let us take Mr. Mu here and let him speak. Thus someone must take him here, Wan Yan Kang said. Could I charge Brother Go then with the task of bringing Mr. Mu here? Wang Chuyi nodded. Go Jing immediately left the banquet to go to the Prosperity Inn. But the room of Mu Yi was empty. The father and the girl had left, carrying all their belongings with them. Questioned, the boy at the inn answered that someone had come to seek them and had paid the room and the meals, but he could not say who. Go Jing hurriedly returned to the residence of Prince Zhao, where Wan Yan Kang greeted him with a great smile. Brother Go, thank you for your effort. Where is Mr. Mu? Go Jing told him that he had sought in vain. Ah, it is my fault, sighed Wan Yan Kang. Turning to one of his servants, he ordered. Take several men with you, go quickly in all directions. Must absolutely find Mr. Mu. The servant obeyed and left. Thus, without the main person of interest, it was impossible to continue. Wang Chuyi could say nothing, but his head was full of suspicions. To go and seek Mr. Mu, he said to himself, it is enough to send 1 or 2 servants. This rascal insisted that Go Jing should go. Obviously he wanted that Go Jing himself should notice the departure of Mu, and can give testimony on it. It doesn't matter that mysterious things happened, he sneered. In the end, the truth will always triumph. Taoist Elder, you have reason to believe that Mr. Mu did mysterious things? Wan Yan Kang answered laughingly, it is really odd. The officer Tang Zudi, already furious to see how the Taoist had easily extorted 1,000 taels, found it intolerable to see him also showing insolence to the young prince. He vented his anger. Thus, Taoist, to which temple do you belong? What right do you have to swindle our master? Thus, officer, retorted Wang Chuyi. To which country do you belong? What right do you have to occupy an official position here? He had well seen that Tang Zudi was Chinese, but occupying an officer rank in the Jin army, benefiting from it to oppress his compatriots, it was for this reason he made fun of him. The thing that Tang Zudi hated most was people mentioning that he is Chinese. He felt that he is highly skilled in martial arts, is loyal and willing to risk his life for the Jins, but yet, they still do not allow him to lead an army. He has worked hard for 20 years but is ultimately kept in the Zhao Prince residence for the show. Wang Chuyi's comments have hit his sore point, and his face immediately changes before roaring out in anger. He stands up, opposite Liang Ziwang and Wang Ke, and releases a fist towards Wang Chuyi's face. The latter glances at the fist coming towards him and stretches out 2 fingers from his left palm to grab Tang Zuda's wrist, laughing. Even if you are not willing to answer, there is no need to resort to violence, right? Tang Zuda's fist is stopped in midair and finally is unable to move. He is surprised but angry, and scolds, "Brilliant witchcraft, you used witchcraft." He uses his might to release his fists but is unable to, and scowls, feeling very embarrassed. Liang Ziwang, who is sitting beside him, laughs. "General, fret not, come, sit down for a cup of wine." And with that, stretches out his fingers towards Tang Zuda's left shoulder. Wang Chuyi is aware that although his 2 fingers can suppress Tang Zuda's fist, but is unable to prevent Liang Ziwang's one press. He releases a finger and aims for Tang Zuda's right shoulder. With this quick change of stunt, Liang Ziwang is unable to restrain himself and 2 fingers press both sides of Tang Zuda's shoulders at the same time. It is really Tang Zuda's honor to have 2 highly skilled fighters to ambush him at the same time, and his both hands uncontrollably punches forward. With the sound of 2 clashes, his left hand punches into a plate of leftover fish and his right hand enters a bowl of hot and sour soup. 2 of the dishes break into small pieces. The fish bones and broken fragments of the dishes pierce into Tang Zuda's hands, mixing flesh blood with remains of the soup, causing him to yell out in pain. The crowd laughs out aloud and quickly move aside. Tang Zuda by this time is furious and very embarrassed, thus dashes out of the hall. The servants then suppress their laughter and move forward to clean up the mess. Sha Tongjian marvels, Quanzhen sect really lives up to its name. Brother here wants Taoist Wang to enlighten me on something. Wang Chuyi replies, "It's nothing much, please ask, Elder Sha." Sha Tongjian replies, "Yellow River Clan and Quanzhen sect have all along been at peace, so why does Taoist Wang make things difficult for brother here by going all the way to support the 7 freaks of Jiangnan? Quanzhen sect may have many disciples, but brother here is not afraid." Wang Chuyi replies, "I think there is some misunderstanding. I have heard of the 7 freaks of Jiangnan, but I don't know any of them. I have a martial brother who made a little bit with them. But I have never planned on helping the 7 freaks of Jiangnan against Yellow River Clan." Sha Tongjian exclaims, "That's great, then please hand over this rascal to me." Speaking, he reaches forward to grab Go Jing's throat. Wang Chuyi knows that Go Jing is unable to avoid that grab and will get injured, thus stretches out his arm to push Go Jing's shoulders gently. Go Jing falls out of his chair uncontrollably and a ka-cha sound is heard, with Sha Tongjian's 5 fingers changing direction towards the ground. The back of his chair is broken. This claw, smashing wood like being curd is indeed one of the least seen but powerful stunts in the Wulin world. Sha Tongjian, who has failed in grabbing Go Jing, furiously asks, "So you are going to protect this rascal?" Wang Chuyi replies, "I brought this child in, so I will naturally bring him out safely."